Good morning, Austin. Welcome to the Atheist Experience. There's Don Rhoades. Yes. And here we go to today's guest, David Bagley. As you can see, we don't have the music. My sound guy, Arlo, is away on a little trip here. He's actually going to see the eclipse. And with any kind of luck, he'll be bringing us back some video. I'm looking forward to that. Turns out his dad's an astronomer, and they're on a cruise just specifically to go see the eclipse. So, remind everyone in Austin, we are coming at you live. This is August 8th. That'll be today's topic, Signs from God. That was the show that was on Fox Network a week and a half ago. And I found the show quite interesting, and we'll be talking more about that here in a short bit, but we always start off with announcements of Atheist Community of Austin. We meet every Sunday down at the Hot Jumble Bakery, which is down at West 5th and Lavaca. It's free and open to the public, and we love meeting all the atheists in Austin, so feel free to come on down. We do our monthly lecture series. We have the first Sunday of every month. Last week, the gentlemen were real interesting. Next month, the first Sunday in September, will be Stephen Weinberg, astrophysics. I'm looking forward to meting the gentleman.
I am too.
Yes, it should be quite a show.
He's a nationally known figure, and been some very exciting quotes from him in the paper.
We're asking him to come on the show. There, at this point, it looks slim, but we did ask him to come on to the show, and I got my fingers still crossed. We're still begging for that to happen, but he will be at the lecture series at FERS at North Cross Mall. So that's all the announcements I can think of at this point. So at this point, we'd like to go to some news, and Boy Scouts have been in the news quite a bit this week, and David brought in a couple articles he'd like to share with us.
This is the 30-page court decision from the Supreme Court of New Jersey, where the Scouts now had to admit a gay leader back in their organization. One of their statements is that Scouting is a private organization, but the problem is, in 1916, they were chartered by Congress under Title 30, U.S. Title Code, Title 36, Chapter 2. It gives them creates a corporation. It gives them exclusive rights to emblems and materials, so they can sue you if you try to do the same thing. Remember the Trail Scouts that tried to form in Virginia, where that guy had to try to have his kids in his community go out and do social service in the community? They sued him and made him take the word Scouts off of it.
I didn't know that. No.
This is years ago.
Yes.
But apparently they're going to appeal this decision. But the interesting thing is, all the decisions that's going in and being talked about, somehow this has never shown up in the courts. An atheist, a gay atheist, is suing them in Illinois, the Chicago School District, and they have two major complaints in this thing. The first is one against the statewide class action suit, and the second is a nationwide class action suit involving U.S. Transcom. So when this decision goes through and forward, it has the potential for affecting Scouts across the nation. So we may see in the next couple of years Scouting actually do what it's supposed to do, which is either become a 501c3 or C4 and discriminate legally, or stop the discrimination.
I thought it was quite interesting because they had the gentleman, the one from New Jersey,
yes,
had him on the news the other day, and he brought up an interesting point that in all the manuals and all the written documents from the Boy Scouts that they actually filed with the courts and everything else, it says nothing about homosexuality in there, anywhere in there, that it is somehow a violation of their rules. And that was his biggest thing, that since it's not one of the rules, how can he claim that he's violating one of the rules?
Well, in 1916 they chartered. In 1970 they generated the God thing. You have to affirm a belief in a God. In 1978 is the first time the National Council ever talked about homosexuality. So this is where this comes from, nobody knows. And the interesting part of the history of the Boy Scouts, and this is a good book to get, if we can get us close up on it and get it clear. This is Scouts Honor. The book is named Scouts Honor by Patrick Boyle, B-O-Y-L-E. It goes all the way back to Baden-Powell starting the Scouts up to now. Baden-Powell had a really interesting idea about boys. He liked to see young boys romping and half naked, getting in the lakes and things. He had a picture book that was kept of art pictures. And these art pictures he kept were destroyed when he died, before they could become public. So, and Baden-Powell had another point, that he grew up in the British school system, where they had the people that were, the boys were sent away to school. And remember all the stories about the homosexual contact between boys in the school system? Well, he had a friend of his from his school that went to the wars with him in Afghan and some other places, and when his friend was captured, they had to restrain him from charging to go try to get him back. So Baden-Powell is an interesting character when you go through all this. And if this book was a lie, the Scouts would have sued Patrick Boyle greatly because it was published in 1994. It covers the history of sexual abuse in the Scouts. Scouts have had not just a scout leader abusing a troop, but they've had a scout leader abuse a troop and then have that abuser become an abuser of fits after him. So in one troop, you'll have 3 generations of abuse coming off one abuser. And for years, they had over 4,000 secret files on sexual child abuse. They had people go from scout troop to scout troop to scout troop, and they had 4,000 pedophiles listed, and not a one of them they reported to police.
That sounds a lot like the Catholic Church, how they try to keep it internal.
Well, it's not condemning the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts are just one of organizations that have problems. The important point is putting it in perspective. Scouting is a good organization, and when it started out with Baden-Powell, one of the reasons it started out was because all the organizations for kids were religious. So this is actually a way to get from the religious so any kid could join it. Yeah. And now it's going the other way. You weren't familiar with the Unitarians? The Unitarians do not at all have anything against homosexuals. Well, they tried to reflect that in their religious emblem book. Well, Scouting threatened to throw them out. And so they had a fight over that. So Scouting's dogma, while it's not officially in any kind of documentation,
right,
again, their dogma affects people. Like one of the interesting points is most people are not aware of how many tax dollars go into the Boy Scouts. In Fort Hood alone, just north of us here, where I live, they have Camp Finlayson, which is like a 200-acre camp given to them, with buildings built on it and maintained by the government. They have Ballora. They have a scouting camp at Ballora, which is Lake Belton. They have an area that belongs to Scouts, and literally almost $1.5 million is spent on this, of tax dollars, for the Scouts. And the only people that can use it are the Scouts. Well, unless the Scouts give them permission to use it.
Right.
So we have an organization that has at least five federal laws, so they can keep their emblems and other things, especially for themselves. And they have almost 20 military regulations of various sorts from different branches to give services and things to them free. So if that's not a public, if you're chartered by Congress,
right, exactly,
being supported indirectly actively by the military and everybody else, it seems like it should be open to the public.
I appreciate that, and we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Howard, why don't you show Jim where that switch is on this? Oh, he just found it, I think. The switch on the side of the camera that I was playing with earlier. Howard knows where that is, Jim. Just remind everyone, this is live TV. We're having small technical difficulties. Hang with us. This is August 8th. We will be taking your calls live on the air, and we'll be. We just wanted to talk about the Boy Scouts because it just hit the news again, and it's been going on for years. But because from what I understand, New Jersey is going to said they're going to appeal this to the Supreme Court.
No, the Boy Scouts said they're going to appeal.
Yeah, not New Jersey themselves, but Boy Scout. Right.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Why is there such a difference between the position the Boy Scouts take and the position the Girl Scouts take? I mean, they seem.
Well, the Girl Scouts have basically come to the 20th century.
They started later.
Well, let me put it this way. You want to hear what the Girl Scouts actually said? This comes off the internet. This comes off the Internet Infidels. This thing here, and it's called Boy Scouts Practice Discrimination. And there's the Boy Scout Anti-Discrimination website. I'll pass that information on so you can put it on the web page where the two ad sites are. But the thing I'm talking about is Girl Scouts take the lead. The Girl Scouts president, President Bila Ray Arroyo, made an official statement. The change is a very strong statement that Girl Scouts continue to be on the cutting edge, and this is a continuing effort to show we have strength and diversity and we're an inclusive organization. They still have the God oath officially up there, and you can put any words you want to in place of God or just wipe it out completely.
Okay.
You know, so like me, I have a 6-year-old daughter who's in the Girl Scouts. And one of the questions that all been to me is her being forced to say God and things.
Right.
And I told her, I said, I can't tell you to believe or not believe in a God. I said, but you have the choice to say God or not. And so now, where she's at, she chooses at this point not to use the word God. And when she decides what she wants, but she should have that right. I, as a parent, should have that right for her to be in an organization. Yes, we're always going to be in this world around religious people. Mm-hmm. But our kids should have that right respected and not be cause problems for it. Right. And the Girl Scout troop, which is in a very Bible Belt area, has no problems with it. When I called and talked to her, she says, "Oh, that's great." So I even volunteer and help them when I can.
That's good to hear.
So, but the Girl Scouts just happen to be in the 20th century, and they also don't have. It's funny that the Scouts, that the male organizations are so recalcitrant to change, whereas the female organizations get in more in tune with the real world.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Don.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I was involved in Scouts for some time, and this was back when I was a Christian, so I really didn't have any issue with it, and I had a positive experience with it. I had a lot of friendships. We did a lot of fun things. I learned a lot. I can tie all kinds of knots. I learned how to do a canoe. I got a badge for swimming a mile, and really. There was no. I don't remember any incidents of religious proselytizing or anything like that. The oath says that you'll do your duty to God, and I think if I was an atheist child, I could probably say that, and if there's a God, then whatever my duty is, sure I'll do it. And there's an expectation that you be reverent. Which those are really pretty vague, and I think the whole idea is, like you said, that this would be religiously all-inclusive. Well, we're in a different age now, and there are people that are good, moral people that would like for their children to have this experience that are non-theistic. And I think they shouldn't be discriminated against.
Well, I know one atheist who's working in a scout troop in Killeen, Texas, but I'm not going to say his name out of respect for him. And the thing is that scouting, by and large, kids are safe in there. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good things there. But to be brutally truthful, because of their practices and the way they are, they get an average of 90 people a year that abuse kids and get arrested in their organization. And parents, that's been both sides of the street. But I know most of the scout people up in Killeen, and I think scouting, in principle, is great, like you said. This mainly comes from the national hierarchy. Out of there, you know where the national hierarchy is?
No, I don't.
Just north of us in Texas.
No, I didn't know that. No.
Their national office here in Texas.
Not Waco, is it?
No, not Waco. But the thing is, it's mainly the national hierarchy. The national hierarchy in 1970 put the God thing out.
Okay.
The national hierarchy in 1978, by an executive memoranda, put the gay thing out. Before that, there were gays and atheists that run around scouting. No one cared about it.
That's fine. Well, as you can see, folks, we're still playing with the cameras there, trying to get the irises and everything else set right, so please bear with us. This is live TV, August 8th. Like I said, the topic's Sign of God. That was the TV show, but do you want to touch on that before we get to that?
I'd love to go into this.
Okay, this is a good little article here about Littleton. Perspective.
This, as many of you may be aware, there's been a lot of discussion in Congress and the media about our violent society and the reasons for it. Could it be that it's that we don't have enough religion or religious stuff posted in the right places, whatever. This was sent to me. It's from something called Slate, and the author is Steve Chapman, who I don't know who he is or what affiliation he has, but I like it. So I'm going to read most of it, not all of it to you. And the title is Praise the Lord Past the Ammo. If teen violence is the question, religion isn't the answer. Addressing a God Not Guns rally of ministers near the Capitol a couple of weeks ago, House Majority Whip Tom DeLay offered this explanation for the Littleton, Colorado killings. I got an email this morning that said it all. The student writes, "Dear God, why didn't you stop the shootings at Columbine?" And God writes back, "Dear student, I would have, but I wasn't allowed in school." Well, in social science terms, Republicans believe there is a correlation between the influence of religion and obedience to the law. The Ten Commandments prohibit murder, so exposing people to them could tend to discourage lethal violence. The absence of religious faith and norms, on the other hand, might incline someone toward homicide. The argument has particular force in the context of Columbine, where the gunman asked two girls if they believed in God, and when they answered affirmatively, shot them dead. The correlation is not implausible, but a correlation is not the same thing as a cause. If we were to discover that none of the killers in the various school shootings were in the habit of eating pancakes for breakfast, we would have established a correlation. But no one would argue that the kids killed because they didn't eat enough pancakes, much less that the answer to school violence is a national campaign to get children to eat pancakes every day. Once you find a correlation between A and B, you still have to demonstrate that one causes the other. In this instance, though, conservatives are claiming to have found a cause without even showing a correlation. Why not? Maybe because they can't. The United States is the most religious of all the industrialized nations. 44% of Americans attend church once a week, compared with 27% in Britain, 21% in France, 16% in Australia, and 4% in Sweden. Yet violent crime is not less common in the United States. It's more common. The murder rate here is 6 times higher than the rate in Britain, 7 times higher than in France, 5 times higher than in Australia, 5 times higher than in Sweden. Japan, where Christianity has almost no adherents, has less violent crime than almost any country. There are a few advanced nations that have high rates of church attendance and low rates of violent crime, Ireland, Italy, and Belgium, but they're the exceptions. Within the 50 states, there's no evidence that a God-fearing populace equals a law-abiding populace. The Bible Belt has more than its share of both praying and killing. Louisiana has the highest church-going rate in the country, but its murder rate is more than twice the national average. The same pattern generally holds in the rest of the South. Tom DeLay's Bible-toting state of Texas has a murder rate triple that of Massachusetts, which is ungodly enough to have elected 2 openly gay members of Congress. New York, the very symbol of godless depravity, is perfectly average when it comes to extra-legal slaughter. In Washington State, where Sunday morning slug-a-beds are more common than anywhere else in America, murder is 38% less common. House Republicans have also failed to notice that the school shootings have not occurred in hotbeds of secular humanism, say Berkeley, California, Cambridge, Massachusetts, or New York City, but in towns that Norman Rockwell and James Dobson would be proud to call home: Pearl, Mississippi, West Paducah, Kentucky, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, and Springfield, Oregon are not exactly Madalyn Murray O'Hair country. Littleton was a fertile ground for evangelical churches. If there is any apparent correlation between the prevalence of Christian devotion and law-abiding conduct, it's the opposite of the one claimed by Republicans. Religion and violence seem to go hand in hand. That doesn't mean faith actually causes murder, but it does suggest that when Republicans contemplate the 10 Commandments, they should pay more attention to the 9th, which prohibits false witness.
Excellent.
Anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I like that a lot.
I liked it.
Good.
Yeah, 'cause I've said that a bunch of times on the show and talking to friends and everybody. Correlation does not equal causation. They try to throw that up there all the time. But I see we have several callers on the line. This is live August 8th, and we'll try and make sure that the phones are working properly. Let's see here. Larry?
Yeah, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Good morning, Larry.
Good morning. I'd like to know y'all's names if you don't mind. I've tuned into your
Sure.
show.
My name's Ray, and this is my guest host for today, Don
Don
Rhoades, and David Bagley. He's our guest for the day.
Okay. Ray, I've seen you a couple of times. I've watched your show a few times and just listened to your thoughts. And I just wanted to get some background on you, if
Sure.
you don't mind answering any questions.
Not at all.
Have you always been an atheist?
I used the term agnostic for years before I moved here to Austin, and then became acquainted with more atheists and realized I'd been an atheist for years, but to be honestly, I used the term agnostic for years.
Were you raised agnostic?
I was raised Methodist, excuse me.
Oh, you were raised Methodist?
I was baptized in a Methodist church, yes.
So you were given the opportunity to experience the Christian life before you became agnostic?
I guess, yes.
And what made you change? What was the one thing that changed your?
Okay, this come up on the show before, and I've talked to other atheists about this. You cannot pinpoint, an atheist in general cannot pinpoint to one specific event. We come at this through a thought process over months and years of examining the evidence that's available out there and their contradictions that the Christians throw at you and everything else, and you cannot pinpoint to one specific event. Whereas most of these Christians talk on the show that, yes, my grandmother walked across the swimming pool and I've been a Christian ever since. Well, we atheists can't pinpoint to one specific event. And I feel I speak for a majority of atheists on that point after being on the show for this long and talking to other atheists.
So more or less you're a free thinker?
I like that term, yes.
You like that term?
Yes.
Free thinker is generally kind of a broad, all-inclusive term that atheists are a part of. Agnostics, lots of other people also fit into that.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, the reason I was asking you, Ray, was because I've never been to a Methodist church. I've been raised around the Catholic Church, and you're true. There's a bunch of contradictions, and the stories but then again we're also taught about miracles, and I do believe in miracles, and I am a Christian. I don't knock anybody for being a free thinker, an agnostic, or an atheist. That's your right as a human being. And I just, wanted to see what made you become a free thinker or atheist, as you prefer.
Especially the Catholic Church, I find the hardest to understand. And they're in the process, from what I just hear on the news here recently, that they're in the process of trying to make Mother Teresa into sainthood. Mm-hmm. So and that one just blows me away.
Well, I think what the reason behind that is because and they say in the day when the Bible was written and all, the saints came from people that walked on earth. That they did good deeds and they changed their lives when Jesus Christ walked the earth. If
she would have done more for birth control and contraceptives, she would have relieved a whole lot more suffering than she did with all the medical help that she gave to these people that just kept on having more and more kids that they couldn't afford. Right. And she was right there in the middle of it helping them. And instead, it would have made a whole lot more sense to me if she would have gave them.
Into consideration her age. She was.
That has nothing to do with it.
Sure, she did. Sure, it did. She was what, in her 80s?
Right. So what's that got to do with it?
Well, if you go back 80 years, you go back to the 1900s. The early 1900s.
If I walk into a country that can't feed its own people, mm-hmm. and then and don't do anything to prevent them from having more kids that they can't afford, she was in there helping out at the hospitals, delivering these babies to families that couldn't afford the kids they already had.
Right. And I guess in the Christian teachings it says that the birth, your birth as well, is a miracle. Without two people, you were a miracle, believe it or not.
Okay, our guest David would like to say something.
I'd like to say something to you, what made me. I have some friends who are lesbian, and they always had this biggest laugh in the world. What made me a lesbian? What made me a homosexual? Mm-hmm. Well, people choose to be things because of a lot of different reasons. I was studying to be a Catholic priest, a Jesuit to be exact. I was in a priest seminary while I was a teenager, and after studying the Bible religiously day in and day out, I finally realized it was a load of hooey. It's so contradictory and everything else, so I left. Mm-hmm. And I've been an atheist most of my life, and I'm really happy being that way. But atheism is such a small percentage of my life. I'm a father, I'm a student, I do other things, I work with groups, I'm a husband. Mm-hmm. So this making one thing all encompass your life is kind of silly.
Well, it doesn't encompass your life. You just live it day to day, and take something positive and try to work it in your life. You said you had a 6-year-old daughter, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you're raising her as an atheist?
I'm raising her to think for herself.
Okay. How can you expect a 6-year-old child to make those decisions at 6 years of age? I have a daughter myself.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Don has kids too.
First of all, I don't tell my daughter to make a decision. I tell my daughter she's going to be of an age when she's prepared to make that choice.
Right.
I'll sit down and talk with her. She talks about churches and things like that some of her friends go to. I'll be glad to take my daughter to one of those churches, and then we'll sit and talk about it.
Yeah, because you are the biggest influence in her life, Dave. I mean, I don't like to knock up anybody's family and all, but she's 6 years old. She looks to you every day, and you're her dad, and she looks to you and she listens to you, and she does everything you say at this age.
Well, may I remind you, sir, that William Murray O'Hare had a big influence of an atheist in his life, and William Murray O'Hare now is a Bible-thumping person with his own 501c3 running around condemning his mother's own work.
Yeah.
Children do go against their parents.
Well, she went. I mean, did they ever find her or anything?
Let's not get into that, please.
Okay. Now, Ray, one more question to you, Ray.
Okay, sure, quick.
One more question.
Okay.
How do you feel? This Dave said that he has lesbian friends.
Yeah.
What's your feelings on homosexuality?
We have several homosexuals in the group. It's, from what I understand, science has proved it's just a natural event that happens in a certain percentage of the population. They've done animal studies and everything else where they show, I think, anywhere from 5 to 10% of the population turns out to be homosexual, and it's just a natural trait that happens.
Right.
So and I have no problem with most of the gays and lesbians I've met have been wonderful, intelligent people, and I don't have a bit of problem with them whatsoever. And I'm glad that they're part of our group. We're very inclusive in our group.
Okay, I just thought I'd get that.
And Don has kids, though. Don wants to make a point.
Okay,
though.
go ahead.
Well, I have one. I have a daughter,
I'm sorry.
And Larry, you sound like a nice, tolerant guy, but I want to, I'm struggling with something. It sounds like you're saying that the right thing for a parent to do is indoctrinate their children into religion, and
no,
David has chosen not to do that, and I think he's made the wise choice. I think it probably doesn't hurt for children to have some exposure to religion. My daughter has. She's been to church, but
no, Don, not at all.
When she asked me, what the truth is, she's going to get the straight answer as best I can tell her.
Right.
And
well,
also,
I agree with you, Don. Now, listen, don't get me wrong here. I have a child, and I'm experiencing this. That's why I said that today. I'm experiencing that. They wake up in the morning and they spend time with me and they listen to me, and I'm a part of their lives, forming their brain and their thought process and all. Now, I don't mind, as a Christian, I don't mind showing them your way of thinking either. You understand? I'm simply trying to get his thoughts, because I heard him mention his 6-year-old daughter, and about being there for her and influencing her on the atheist side. Now, being Christian, I was raised Christian. I have, as a Christian, gone to church, as a Catholic church, and sat there and said, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right to me. They teach this, and this, and this, and I don't agree with all of it. But, in my life, it's been positive, and I've never been exposed to the atheist community until I moved here to Austin and started listening to you guys on Sunday morning. Okay. So, that's a part of me that's coming out and listening to you guys speak your mind, and it makes my mind think. So I'm not at all knocking y'all.
I appreciate that.
That is exactly what we're trying to do. I mean, we don't want to convert you. We don't want your money.
Oh yeah.
But we'd like for you to know. We'd like for you to know what an atheist is.
I was waiting for the number to come up to give in,
send
the
money
donation.
No, we can't do that. But I do have to go. We have a bunch of callers.
No problem. Hey, Ray, you have a good day.
Thanks,
Don,
Larry.
Dave, y'all have a good day too, and we'll talk to you next time.
Have a great week, and we hope to hear from you again. And but we have a bunch of callers here. We'll just keep right on going here to
Barry.
Good morning, Barry.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
First of all, I'd like to tell you that I watch your show regularly.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear that.
Have been for months.
Thank you.
And I admire your what you do. Sit there, you talk, you explain yourself. You don't apologize for yourself. And the fellow Larry, he's a pretty cool guy. Your previous caller.
Yeah.
He is a Christian. He doesn't apologize for it, but he too seems to have a very open mind, and that I admire. One of the reasons why I'm actually calling, is initially, in the show you were talking more about hypocrisy, I believe. And I think that people who are hypocrites, they sit around and talk about how God is so good and so great. Now, I don't know what I am. I don't believe in Jesus. I think maybe if he existed, he was a nice boy. Kind of a Jewish thought and train of mind. But he was a nice boy. But the hypocrisy of Christianity really does kind of set badly on me. And I'll give you a very good example. I'm from back east. I've been in Austin for 8 years.
I figured you weren't from around here.
I lived in...
Just kidding. Go ahead.
I get that all the time. My name is Barry, and my name initially when I first came here was Yankee for about 2 years.
I was a senior in high school before I found out "damn Yankee" was 2 words.
No kidding. Yeah, no, I was just plain old Yankee.
Okay.
Anyway, I've lived in 5 states. And one of the states I lived in was New York, and I owned a business there. And a lot of my customers were Italian. My wife is Italian. And I had customers who were not on the... They were small-time mobsters. I owned a security business. That's kind of an oxymoron. Yeah. But even mobsters need security. And one of the things that I found so interesting was they go to church every Sunday. They kill people, they hurt people, they break people's legs. Whatever they did, it didn't. I didn't have any. I didn't see no evil. I heard no evil, and I spoke no evil. And I kept my mouth shut. But they go to church every Sunday.
Smart man.
And
they think they're going to heaven.
And they think they're going to heaven because all they have to do is walk into the confessional. Again, I'm not trashing Catholicism, I'm sorry. But they go to church every Sunday. They do their rosaries. They confess all of their sins. They drop a ton of money in the collection plate.
Yeah.
And then go out all week and knock the hell out of each other. And you want to talk about hypocrisy? That's hypocrisy in its truest form.
Well, you brought up something real interesting.
Sir?
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that the point you're alluding to here is real interesting. The larger point about what is real morality, and does religion really have anything to do with it?
You don't need religion to have morality.
As a matter of fact,
I have 2 wonderful daughters. One of them is working on her internship from SWT. She's a 4.0 student. She has converted from Christianity, which we no longer practice in our house and haven't for years, to Judaism. And that's her choice. But the fact of the matter is we were not religious people. But yet I have 2 children who do not take drugs. They don't drink. I'm a former police officer. I'm a former narcotics investigator, a former detective. I know when something's going on.
Right.
I can tell these things because I learned them through my trade, and I didn't cram religion up their nose and shove it in their face. I crammed morality.
Let me stop you here because I just want to.
Yes, sir.
I want to say amen, basically.
Can I get an amen?
Dr. Stephen Weinberg, who's going to be our guest speaker at FERS next month, one of the quotes I was talking about that I like so much was that that religion, not only is it not the moral pathway that we've been led to believe, but religion can lead otherwise good people into doing bad things.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. All right.
Yeah, and one, I know you got a lot of callers. Like I said, I watch your show a lot. One of the things that bothers me about Christianity as well, and it really, it's such a pet peeve, and it bothers me so badly, is if Jesus is the way, then what about the little Chinese kid or the Korean kid that grows up in the middle of these Asian countries, by no fault of his own, was he born Korean or Chinese or whatever, Taiwanese. Never heard the word of Jesus, but according to Christianity, that boy's going to hell.
All right.
Hey, come on, something's wrong with this, guys.
All right. We're going to let you go, though. We got a bunch of other callers.
Thanks, Barry.
Great talking to you, fellas.
We enjoyed your call.
Have a good day.
Please call again.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, David.
Well, his answer to him is that they say that if you're raised without a religion, you never presented Christianity, and you never have a chance, that you'll be raised after the rapture, you'll be raised back up, and then have a chance while on earth to accept it or reject it. And then after that, when they come back again and do the final killing of Satan and everything else, then they'll just have a chance to decide.
Well, of course, some people say that.
Yeah.
Some people say there's no hell. You know, I mean, it's a whole
whatever you believe.
Yeah, a whole string of that stuff.
All right. And let's go on down to Reba. Rebecca. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Good morning.
I just have one question for you.
Sure.
Okay, the Supreme Court said that you can't put the Ten Commandments in schools. Now, I want to know, what is the problem with that when the Ten Commandments apply to society as a whole? Whether you believe in God or not, are those not good rules to follow? And what is your argument against them being in school?
Okay, we got several.
Start with the second commandment.
No, well, let's start off with first off. It's which 10 you decide to choose.
Yeah.
There are only 10.
No.
11, because the last commandment he gave you is to love each other.
You tell me, chapter and verse, which 10 you're talking about.
What do you mean? Thou shalt not steal?
No.
It's in there more than one time. In any version of the Bible, any translation, it's in there more than one time, and it's different. Okay, that's one, and then it's different for Catholics. It's a different it's a different set.
Well, if you're talking about Exodus 20, I mean, there's a set in there of 10, but you can go to Deuteronomy and take the other time when they were talking about Moses going up to the mountain and God writing with his finger when he saw God's butt, and then he come walking down, everyone was worshiping this idol, and he threw the things down, and he walked back up to see God's butt again, and someone wrote another set of tablets, and it was an entirely different set of commandments. You've had three sets given in between Exodus and Deuteronomy.
Well, the 10 that everyone are familiar with.
Okay. Let's pretend there's one.
Okay.
Let's pretend there's one set.
5 of those deal with on how you're supposed to treat your God. There's only 5 of them that actually even deal with quote laws that could be laws, and one of them's adultery, which is not even against our any federal or state laws. So you're only
then
you bring it down to supposedly.
I'm not talking about federal or state laws. I'm talking about right and wrong.
Okay, let's talk about right and wrong. Our Constitution says that the government is not going to take steps to advance religion, and that's what we say that this is.
Well,
if you want to put something on the wall of a schoolhouse about let's be fair, or justice is a good thing, or that people should be nice to one another, we're not going to have a problem with that. But that wouldn't do anything to advance religion. So I'm sure that the people that want to put the Ten Commandments up are not going to be satisfied with it.
It's also my
understanding. I'm trying to promote religion, but it seems to me. It seems to me today that children have no boundaries. They're not taught what's right and wrong.
That's the parents is doing that.
Anything goes and everything's okay. That's like homophobia. Okay, personally, I think that being a homosexual is wrong, but to be politically correct today, everything's okay. Everything's okay.
Let's talk about that.
Hatred, right and wrong, when society today says everything's okay.
Hatred is a bad thing.
It's not hatred. It's just right and wrong.
Hatred of homosexuals is something that we see encouraged by religious institutions.
I'm going to give you an example of what goes on in my town, Killeen, Texas. We have witchcraft is treated the same way as homosexuality in the Bible. And the Wiccans up there are condemned resoundingly by one lunatic preacher who's so far out there he's gone even from them. And he wants to have tax money to teach his religion to kids. Right. That says, you shall kill witches, kill fornicators, kill adulterers. And
of course that is in the Bible.
Yes. I'm not disagreeing with it being biblical, but the point is, your Ten Commandment thing, unless you're going to put the 8 wise steps of Buddha, put the Wiccan Rede, the 10 Commandments, the from the Quran, their set of rules.
But do not.
If you put
most
one
of those
religious group up,
have
you got to
the
put them all up.
But do not most of those have the same goal, basically?
No.
That you don't steal, you don't stab your fellow neighbor in the back, you love one another, you try to help each other. I mean, what's wrong with trying to instill that into children today?
Because it's already there. We already have all the laws written, all the civil laws, criminal laws, everything are written in a book, and it's in the library. We have all the laws that are on the book in written form in the schools, in the library.
Yeah, but
what
why
more
not
do we
have
need?
it where they can see it, and when you see something every day, you start to apply it. You think about it, and
you want them indoctrinated with the first commandment: that no other God shall before me, or what have you.
That's the second commandment.
That's the second commandment. Excuse me, I've been misquoted there.
What's the first one?
I don't remember.
I thought it was no other gods before me.
No, it's according to which version you use.
Okay.
So you want your Christian doctrine indoctrinated on our kids by them reading it each and every day.
Let me
is
make
what
a
you're
guess.
saying.
I bet you're for that loudspeaker prayer in school, too.
no.
No?
No.
How come?
But I think that's a personal choice. I'm just saying that I think that the children today need to know that there are boundaries, that you need...
The parents are supposed to do that.
This is true, but how many parents do this?
Then that's the parents' problem, not the schools. David has a point.
May I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
A simple one here. Are not the Ten Commandments recognized as Christian in origin? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. What's the first?
Jewish.
What does the First Amendment of the Constitution say?
I know, freedom of...
No, it says Congress shall not establish a religion or infringe on the free exercise thereof. Are not school board members, are not teachers, and are not aides all employees of the state, the government?
This is true.
So how can you put the Christian Ten Commandments in a public environment paid for with public dollars because the Constitution says it's wrong? Now, you can put civil codes of behavior like don't rape, don't kill, don't pillage. Those are all shared values. I don't want to run around and rape Don's wife. I mean, that's a waste of time. I like Don as a friend. I also don't want to sleep with his wife, not because she's not a nice woman, but because I want to keep him as a friend, someone I can talk to. It's a matter of respect. It's a matter of courtesy, understanding the cause and go. But what you're talking about, and it's the same old dog we hear all the time, is that you want to have the government put your religion, your philosophy on the wall, irrespective of what the society or the law says.
Well, not exactly. What I'm saying is I think that they need to have a code that children can look up to know that you don't
agree on.
steal, you don't lie, you don't cheat, you treat your fellow man with respect. You know, what is wrong with instilling this in our children these days?
Those are good values, and David has a daughter, and I have a daughter, and we try to instill those. We do our best to instill those values. Now,
sadly, there are a lot of children that don't have that guidance, that don't understand that, and maybe if they were just touched on a little bit and contemplated
wait a minute.
they would follow that.
You're assuming that they're not. I mean,
there are a lot of children who are not.
Well. Sure, we have a lot of behavior problems out there. But one of the, have you ever heard of the book All I Ever Needed to Learn, I Learned in Kindergarten?
Yeah.
You know, there's some basic truth in there that really in school you do learn a lot of socialization stuff, how to stand in line, and how to be quiet, how to listen, and the point is that the religion aspect is private. That is something that is the business of the family, and it's done in the home and in the church. And if you want to do that, then I will fight for your right to do that.
Yes,
but I will also fight for my right to be free of it.
I understand that, but
in the institutions that I own part of.
Okay, as you said, those are things that should be kept in the family. Well, just as well, condoms being handed out in sex education, isn't that something that should be in the family also, rather than our tax dollars paying for? Now they've started in 4th and 5th grade.
And
isn't that?
Can I talk what you said before about kids' behavior? My daughter at age 3 and 4 and 5 in a daycare environment. You know who the kids were that were kicked out of school, ma'am?
No.
The preacher's kids for biting, hitting, and fighting. My daughter stayed in that school. I had that minister call the social department and say, he's abusing his daughter. When that poor worker showed up at the daycare, I told him this was going to happen because I'm known to be politically active. The day he walked in, they said, oh yeah, here's his file, take a look at it. Oh, come here, I want to see his... That guy wanted to get out of there so bad because everyone in the whole daycare center said, he's got a lovely daughter. The only bruises are on her leg from running. Most of them she got here. See the accident report?
Yeah, I agree with this. There are a lot of hypocrites and there are a lot.
But what you're talking about, again, like condoms and all, I dare to say to you, have you ever read about Holland at all, ma'am?
No.
All right. Go down to your internet or wherever and find out the statistics on Holland's teenage pregnancy rate, abortion rate, and STD rate. They have sex education starting in kindergarten going all the way through. They have the lowest teen sexuality rate. Their kids be 17, 18 years old before they begin sex. Ours start between 12 and 14 sometimes. A lot. So your argument that sex education is not appropriate may be one that you want to reevaluate, because in the places where it's really practiced throughout the curriculum, it actually serves to reinforce the family's values. They talk about religion. And if you really want to, and they always have an opt-out provision. Do you know the opt-out provision in the state educational codes?
No.
They have
Means you can skip it.
That means they have an opt-out provisions for things like sex ed or something that's really against your religion, if it's not a critical key point of the course, that you can opt your child out of.
All right.
Well, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You have a
good day.
You have a good day also.
You take care. All right.
Lively today.
Yes. I thought I hit the right button.
You did.
Okay. Let's go on down to Alex.
Hello?
Good morning.
Alex.
Oh, good morning. Yeah, I'd like to add to that argument. She said that they have no understanding, that the kids today have no understanding of the boundaries.
Right.
They do, but they have total disregard for them. Some of them, they understand completely, but they choose whether or not they want to do it, whether or not they want to use the boundaries.
Good point. You sound young. I not as an insult. How old are you?
Yeah, I am 14.
Yeah. So that's interesting. We got. So how do you feel about 10 Commandments in your school?
10 Commandments? I think there should be I think that they should know that, but if it's not their religion, they shouldn't be forced to learn it, because in the amendments there is a freedom of religion, and nobody should be forced to learn something from some other religion that they don't want to.
So you know it's against the law to kill someone.
Yeah.
You don't need to be reminded of that each and every day.
No, everybody knows that. And
yes.
They learn it in school, and like you said, it's a simple matter of respect for people.
Right. And I appreciate your call.
Huh?
You got something else, Alex?
Huh?
You have anything else?
Yes. Basically, what are you trying, what is this whole show about?
It's about atheism. It's about what it's like to be an atheist. It's about the atheist point of view, and it's the atheist experience.
So you're an atheist?
We are atheists.
We are
yes.
atheists. There's nothing no doubt about that.
And people
we don't apologize for it. We think everybody. It'd be great if everybody was atheist.
People have so many misconceptions on exactly what it means to be an atheist, and so we're trying to put a real face to what it means to be an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Alex, you talked about violence in school. I want to ask you, what school do you go to, may I ask?
I used to go to Dead Chick Middle School, and now I'm going to be starting up high school.
All right, where were you? Did you see a lot of violence in school?
Pretty much, but I think it's all a matter of self-control, self-discipline.
But did you feel unsafe in school?
Huh?
Did you personally feel unsafe in your school environment?
Not really.
Well,
okay.
I think that makes a good point, because the issue that begs the issue. Statistically, Alex is safer in school than he is at home.
Is that right?
Statistically, if you take the FBI crime statistics, your kid is safer in a public school. Kids are killed at a higher rate in the home than at school. And the reason for that is simple. They spend more time there. But also the fact that most kids are killed by a relative is a form of child abuse or something of that nature. Very few kids are actually killed in street violence. You know what the #1 weapon that kills in the United States is?
Car, isn't it?
No.
I took a guess.
Blunt object trauma. That's a baseball bat, a brick, something like that.
That's pretty basic, because everybody has one.
That's because most killings are done on the spur of the moment, and there are disagreement, and it's really not planned.
Yeah. Right.
And very few are actually planned. But Alex, it's nice to hear from you, and I'm glad to see someone's listening and thinking.
Oh, thanks.
You have a great week.
You too.
All right.
Bye, Alex.
Let me jump back to the topics, and we're about halfway through here. I did have a topic. I brought in the news of the weird to lead into it. Excuse me. It says, throughout the spring in South America, South Africa, Canada, and the United States, notably Omaha, Nebraska, hundreds of worshipers have claimed that gold teeth and gold fillings have appeared spontaneously in their mouths, apparently as a result of prayer. However, two of the claimants, Canadian TV evangelist Dick DeWort, as I think how you pronounce it, and Williams Thiessen were forced to issue corrections when reminded by their respective dentists that the gold fillings had been installed in the conventional way. Said I know I tell people to please check their dental records before they declare a miracle. Ahead of the curve, Pastor Dennis Morgan Donner of Big God Ministries in Indiana said God gave him a platinum filling. Well, what this is leading up to is there was a show on Fox Network a week and a half ago called Signs of God, Science Tests Faith. And in the week prior to this, I've been telling my friends and people I met, co-workers and stuff, about the show and saying that we're going to discuss it on the show. And I was surprised what elitist attitude people have towards Fox Network. I love that. I love network. I love the cop show on. I love cops and the videos they do on that and everything else. Well, anyway, this was a live 2-hour episode that took place in a small town in Mexico, and I'm embarrassed I forgot the name. This woman is having all these miracles come about, and so they had an investigative reporter go down there and film live from this woman. Right off the bat, there was no atheist on the show. There was one person that claimed to be a reformed atheist. That was an atheist at one time.
He's now reformed atheist?
He's now a religious person. So they go down there, and one of the things they were showing was this woman had bought this mass-produced statue, and they went and showed it that it was mass-produced bust of Jesus, and she brought it home and put it in her house, and they showed it that it actually cried tears and it actually cried blood, and they actually showed video of a tear appearing on there and a drop of blood showing on there. Two different videos. Neither one of them were live. They were down there for weeks, I guess, to catch this, and then they put this to scientific testing. Well, what the scientific testing was, they did a CAT scan on the statue and showed that there was no defects in the statue. There was no pinpricks or anything else anywhere in there. And that was it on the statue. Then they took samples of the dried blood and took it into a laboratory for analysis. The analysis showed that it was human blood and that it was female blood. And the announcer then, and they said it several times through there, what a qualified investigative reporter this guy was, then sits down, instead of going further with any other questions or any other investigations, has to stop and come to his own conclusion that Jesus was a virgin birth. So since he didn't have a father, his blood would be a female blood. This is a woman's house that we're in. He never stopped to exclude any other women living in the house as having possibly been the source of this blood. He automatically said, oh, it has to be a miracle of God, and comes to this conclusion. It just shows you how blind religion makes people, if you ask me. If they can stop and say God did this, they automatically stop any more investigation. They didn't investigate the humidity of the room, the temperature of the statue.
Condensation, Bob.
Yes, because Mexico's a hot, humid place, and if that thing had been in a freezer overnight before the guys got in there, or something like that. Well, later on in the show, just to show you how inconclusive this thing went on, later on in the show, this woman has a Stigmata experience.
Tell people what Stigmata is first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there might be people in the group that don't, on the audience. Stigmata has wounds that are supposed to be like Jesus suffered on the cross. They have bleeding from their hands, their feet, supposedly the scalp from where they had the thorn or crowns. Some of them go so far as having the spear wound on the side. It might just be one little dot of blood, or some can bleed just all over the place. Well, this woman, they did investigation on this woman. They had brought her into medical facilities there in Mexico and did an EKG on this woman when she prayed, and took blood samples of her and everything else. So when she did the stigmata, they would be able to compare the blood. Well, what I'm leading up to is they had DNA samples from this woman and never compared it to the statue. Yeah. They met an hour into the show after showing the statue. I'm thinking maybe that you'll forget and connect the two. But anyway, back to the EKG. The doctors say they have never seen anyone go into delta state. I'm not sure what delta state, if that is a correct term, or because you're looking at me confused too, or whatever. But they're saying this is the first time they ever seen someone go into a delta state consciously that was not in a coma. You only reach a delta state when you're in a coma. You see what I'm saying?
It's when the brain is almost, when your actual brain quits functioning and your autonomic nervous system is controlling the body, and then the autonomic nervous system fails, they put you on support.
So here she is, she can reach a delta state consciously on her own accord and still talk and converse and everything else. These scientists are totally amazed. They've never seen anyone else do that. Well, if this woman could go into a delta state on her own, she could make herself bleed then. So later on, when they're showing the stigmata, they're actually showing blood coming from her wounds on her feet and her hands, and they do DNA, and they show that this is this woman's own blood from samples that they did earlier. So my argument is that they didn't do enough investigation on this delta state. If this woman can reach delta state and do all these miraculous things while she's in a delta state, then we need to do more investigation on how she got to that state so we can train other people to reach that delta state. So I think that would be very beneficial if I could learn how to reach delta state on my own. You see what I'm saying?
I think the Buddhists have had some success with that too.
Yeah,
meditation. But now I didn't see it, but I'm told that when she was doing her stigmata thing, that she was kind of covered up with a quilt and had a big old crucifix, and all this was going on, and kind of out of sight of the camera, so that there were plenty of opportunities to
and the
create
rest
some injuries. It wasn't just like a camera.
But the problem with this whole thing is the simplest problem of all. Supernatural claims require supernatural proof.
Exactly.
And here's what was not done. One, she was not isolated.
Nope.
In an environment where everything that came in contact with her was known. If they had cleared the room out completely, put her under 24-hour camera observation, and ensured she had nothing to do these things with her body with, you might have a reliable claim. But they didn't do that. She had a very fallible claim because they were in and out of the room and everything else.
Look.
And how do you know that the statue you took in, James Randi, for those of you who have never seen James Randi is a humanist who has he goes out and debunks psychics all the time. Right. Well, James Randi, to show how gullible people are and how you can fool them, told this college kid, his graduate student, how to fake being a yogi and all this stuff, right? He took him to Australia and took the whole country by storm, and everyone believed this guy.
It was very
and then he turned around and said, "Guess what? I'm a fake." But see, again, miracles only occur in places where there's not an adequate scientific base to explain it. Isn't it funny how all miracles occur back in time, or in some little town in Mexico, or some little town in the back hills of Arizona or western Kentucky?
Texas.
Well, what's the thing? See, they showed up with their cameras because this woman had done stigmata before. They were there on the Christian Easter, and she got her message from God, from Jesus. She says she's in communication with Jesus, and she's writing.
Had a message from Jesus, right?
Right, and she had a message for Jesus at the end of the show. Yeah.
Okay.
But she was
from
saying
Jesus.
Yeah, from Jesus to the rest of the world, and she she had it on June 4th, which is the day after San Crispin. Is that it's a Mexican holiday, so she had the stigmata on her Mexican holiday, which I thought. But anyway, so they were there on Easter back in April, and she's like, "No, I have a message to God. It's going to happen June 4th, the day after San Crispin," and so she had 2 months to get this thing ready. See, they left the country and then came back for this. So she actually had 2 months to get this all prepared.
That's what James Randi says. James Randi says that these people's claim, like you've seen the guy that melts the spoons.
Right.
Well, he did the melting the spoons on the TV show, right? Then James Randi pulled a boner on him. He got him on a show, and Randy controlled the spoon. And then he couldn't melt the spoon.
Exactly. I said.
So he couldn't get it to bend down. Which what they do is they get a real soft metal, and it's not fully formed. What they do is it warms up and it'll bend.
Right.
And it's easy to do, and it looks real. You can use it until you actually do something like this and rub it, and then it'll bend. So what we have here again is a not proper scientific examination of it. James Randi's great. He says, you say you can walk suspend in the air, walk. He said, here's an open window. We're on the 12th floor. Walk out and walk in, and I'll give you $1 million. No one's taken him up on it.
Right.
He has had this $1 million up for years.
And it's for any
psychic,
substantiated supernatural.
Exactly.
If you can prove that stigmata appears only at certain times, she could win $1 million by just doing her thing. But the fact is, she would be subjected to a critical observer who would check out her words.
Right.
Hey, we have a caller on the line. Let's see if he wants to talk about that. Mike?
Good morning, guys.
Yes.
Morning, Mike.
Hi. One of the problems with the stigmata is that when people were crucified back then, they weren't nailed through the hands. It was through the wrist.
Right. We've had science.
Look, and if you're nailed through the hands, your hands are just, you get ripped off. Basically, your weight will tear you down, so they would nail you through the wrist.
But almost all stigmatics are bleed through the hands.
That's right. If these are truly Jesus' wounds, why don't they bleed through the wrist and not the hand? So to me, it's all just psychosomatic. None of it is true.
Right. The mind can do amazing things over the body, and like Don pointed out, the Buddhist and there's other people that can meditate that actually bring their pulse rate down to like 10 beats a minute and things like that.
They've done some amazing things, but that's not supernatural.
No, not at all.
And if there is a supernatural world, what I question is if there is gods and demons and all that stuff, couldn't a demon do all this? These little signs and things too, So it really, even if it were actually happening, it doesn't mean that much. So, but it's not.
Did you happen to see the show?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of it? Are you a Christian or an atheist?
No, I'm like you guys, atheist. And,
okay. I'd love to get a Christian point of view. I've yet to meet a Christian that actually saw the show.
No.
Most of the Christians say they don't watch Fox, and
they try to tell them not to.
Yeah, wasn't there some show where they showed how you can make statues bleed and do all you soak the thing with whatever you want to
James Randi was on
and then you sort of scrape where you want to come out from.
Right.
And it's not detectable by CAT scans. There's so many ways to fake this stuff, and people, if they want to believe it, they're going to believe it, period.
Sure.
So I want to remind you, Mike, that we meet down at the Hot Jumbo Bakery once we leave here. It's down at West 5th and Lavaca. You're more than welcome to join us.
Okay.
All right. You have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, what he was talking about, and it's so interesting about it, is they talk about God giving messages. Well, I think what's interesting about God giving messages is someone wants to tell me about the history of the Boy Scouts. I get a Scouts Honor book, and I read it. It's in a language I understand. It's in a format I can gain access to. It's readily available to me. But then, may I see your little black book there?
Yes.
Then they give me this little black book and call it the Bible, in spite of the fact there's 26 other major books that call themselves the Word from God. Mm-hmm. Now, if this God of this book wanted to communicate with me, why have I got to rely on faith? If he really wants to communicate, or if it really wants to communicate, why do they not communicate in a way that it's clear, it's discernible? If a God creates something and can't communicate with it, it ain't much of a God.
Yeah. Okay, we got some more callers on the line here. Joe? Is that Joe?
Hello? I didn't
okay.
think I was going to get on. I just called.
Okay, I was thinking you
for a while. I need to make a correction. I need to make a correction.
Sure.
I understand, like a saying is, the greater the claim, the greater the proof. But I do understand that with the archaeology, there was only one crucifixion victim dug up, where it was done to the wrist. But even though I really don't have much faith in the stigmatas,
right?
And stuff, you can't use it as proof because they did not bleed from the hands instead of from the wrist. That's not. I'd be uncomfortable saying that's proof that it's phony, because from history there is a case where like there are people were nailed to the hands in crucifixion, but their hands were tied, so you could put nails through the hands if they as long as they were bound. So that's really my only comment. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate your comment. Take care. Let's go on down to Ed. Good morning, Ed.
Hey. Yeah, I was just calling to say, you know, the stigmata and the bleeding of the statue and all that.
Right.
Those are kind of wimpy little miracle things. If there really was a God, don't you think he'd, you know, have something a little more, you know, a little bigger going on?
You know, that's a good point. You start off the Bible with the creation of the universe, which, you know, I mean, that's a good miracle. That's a pretty substantial miracle with no witnesses. But it really goes down from there. I mean, the quality, the size, the spectacularity of the miracles. Really, I mean, where you have Jesus turning water into wine, and you know, they are.
Right, because the whole point is that it's supposed to be a miracle, right?
Right.
So,
right. And if I was going to imagine a miracle, like, you know, if, you know, real life Son of God proved to the world, you know, let's just make it clear right now, you know, you could imagine some pretty spectacular ones.
Wasn't there supposed to be this resurrection was supposed to be a unique event? I mean, you go back in the Old Testament, you know, Elijah supposedly resurrected a widow's son, so she wouldn't be destitute. He supposedly brought him up, laid on him, and blew breath on him, and things like that.
They would say that wasn't
kind of interesting,
you know.
But so when you take a look at it, everything they call a miracle is so. What would be a supernatural miracle was take a piece of paper and list all the AIDS victims in the world right now, when they have AIDS, and say, "Oh God, save all these people." And then God comes back and says, "Yeah, I'm going to do it on Saturday at 12 o'clock. I'm going to cure all AIDS." That would be a supernatural, instantaneous proof. Nothing like that has ever occurred, nor do I think ever will.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I mean, you know, all the starving people in the world and everything, and here's this God that makes a little clay statue bleed.
In Mexico, yes.
What's up with that? Anyway, I just want to say that. Thanks.
All right,
Thank you very much, Ed. It's good to hear from you.
The phone's dead now.
But what I was getting ready to say was, you're talking about miracles. I guess for Mother Teresa to reach sainthood, she has to have two miracles attributed to her. Mm-hmm. There is a woman in France that is quite prepared to testify in church that her leukemia was healed because she prayed to Mother Teresa.
Another miracle.
After Mother Teresa died, here she is praying. Right. So to me, it seems all contradictory, because she actually violated the church doctrine by praying to a human, didn't she?
Yeah.
Well, no, I think you're allowed to do that. I think you're. I mean, I don't know what the rules are.
She was beatified, I think, which was she was called a sacred person.
That made it all right, huh?
But see, the thing, what's interesting about that is, if that woman was cured by Mother Teresa, I would ask one question: did she receive medical treatment at any time? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I have a condition which is supposed to keep me in a wheelchair, but I'm just too damn mean to stay in a wheelchair. I mean,
another miracle.
I hurt a lot, and I have problems, and I have difficulties with my knees and my back, and I'm starting to have trouble with my arms and my neck, and theoretically, I'm not supposed to be able to walk and move and pick things up. But, you know, yesterday I got out and cut grass, and I helped do things in my yard, and I've held my wife in my arms more than one time and still been able to move. So I'm still an average man, and I can still do average things, but I hurt. So, and I learned how to get through that. So the point of this woman is, I could claim all kinds of things if I wanted to, if I went to the church, and get perfectly great. I could walk up my medical records, show them he can't do this, he can't do this, he can't do this. I could be on permanent disability now. I'm right on about $1,600 a month. But because I'm out there doing things and still walking, I don't get it. Now, when it finally gets so bad to where I can't move, then I'm on disability. But this woman does not even show where she receives medical care, where she didn't.
I don't know that at this point.
Are you ever heard of Lourdes?
Sure.
They have a committee there at Lourdes where when you come in and claim a miracle, you have to show your entire medical history and everything else. Guess how many miracles have been verified at Lourdes?
Not many.
One? Oh, there is one?
And she's a nun there.
Oh, okay.
And there's millions of people a year
that claim to save them.
Just remind everyone that this is live August 8th. and we're discussing show Signs from God, Science Tests Faith, and I would love to hear a Christian point of view on the show. Let's see
if Al has one.
Al?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Al.
I just want to make a point. See, you get to realize, I'm a Mexican national, you get to realize most of the people in Mexico, they are Catholics, and they believe whatever they are told, see? Because, quoting Karl Marx, the German writer, you get to remember that he used to say that religion is the open of the countries. That's all I want to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate your input.
He makes an extremely valid point that in that country where the laity is poorly educated and the priesthood has a high class over them, that the old provincial system has a lot of power still in that country. So in that part of the world, you don't question. You're told, you believe, you do.
Jesse?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. I was wondering, this is completely off the subject.
All right.
Have you heard about Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard?
Yes.
What is that whole thing about? I don't get it.
That's Scientology?
Scientology. I don't know much. I can't go into too much detail, but what I do know is he is quoted, and it's documented, that he said that if he could make his own religion, he would make $1 million.
Yeah.
So this was a money-making venture from the start for Ron L. Hubbard, and he's no longer around, right? He died.
He's dead.
Yeah, and it went so well, and it was making so much money that it's taken a life of its own. Is all I really got to say about it.
I really don't know any of the details of it, but it's been characterized as a cult.
Yeah.
By different people.
Well, the problem with Scientology is that what I've read of it is that it does provide a form of how to deal with things and look at things.
Okay.
And it does provide, but the thing is, it's also blatantly money obsessed.
Exactly.
A poor person who has no money at all would have difficulty reaching the highest level.
Okay.
I mean, they charge you dollars to go through these various things. So Scientology is extremely interesting, but at least it's an honest money grubbing religion.
Anything else, Ariel? Or that's not Al.
You were talking about the Mother Teresa and sainthood and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get to hear much of it, and I just heard you just speak about it. So what's the whole argument about? I mean, the whole conversation right now about.
Okay, what I understand, they're supposed to wait for 5 years before, and there's already a movement out there trying to get her. Is it 10? Well, I'm not a Catholic, so I don't. There is a set amount of time that they're supposed to wait. There's people out there that are already petitioning the Pope and everybody else. They're writing letters to get this woman sainthood already. Well, part of the deal is not only the time limit, they also have to attribute 2 miracles to the woman. And so far they only have one. There's only one claim to a miracle, and it's not substantiated at this point. So
well, there's several in India itself.
But my claim is she does not deserve sainthood. She actually created more suffering by going down there and having these people giving birth to more children than they can afford and everything else, and she did nothing to help control the population of India.
She also extended the suffering of the people, because what happens is they go into her hospice, and a person that would have died a normal death. That's one of the problems in our kind of culture, is that we don't realize how much of our lifehood extension is by simple sanitation. We gain 20 years by simple sanitation. She brings these people in that are dying and in pain, and she'll help carry them 3 or 5 years longer, suffering and dying, and all she's done is increase her suffering. She's not done one thing to improve the society.
Anything else? Oh, I'm sorry, Don.
I just wanted to point out that there's a book, I have not read it, but I've heard it's real interesting about Mother Teresa called, I believe it's Missionary Position, that is supposed to be really good if you're interested in her.
Yeah, well, you do have a point, is that she has claimed to, like, give these people, like, a place to like, live and food, but I think, like, the maximum they've stayed at the place was about, I guess, a week, or probably not even that. And then after that, you're right. All they did was suffer more, because they didn't have anything else after that.
That's news to me. I didn't know that. But we do have a bunch of other callers.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
That's okay.
You have a great week.
Thanks for calling, Jesse.
We appreciate
have a good day.
We appreciate your opinion and your input. Let's go on down to Summer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Great.
I just wanted to call on the comment. I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in God, and I get signs from God from consequences. I guess.
Like what?
Like, I guess when I smoke and I'm sick, I don't get better because I'm smoking. And the sign from God is that I shouldn't smoke when I'm sick. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, let me think of a better example. I'm sorry. A good example.
That wasn't a good example. Okay, try again.
Let me think of something better. How I can explain this better.
Are you inducing from nature?
I guess like the Christian theory is that you get signs from God when He wants you to correct something, right?
Okay.
Am I right there? He sends you signs to...
I think that's probably a popular notion. I mean, I don't know if it's part of
I guess it comes down to a very simple question for you, Summer. If I want you to correct the behavior, don't I talk to you and tell you why I want you to correct it if I'm a friend?
Oh, yeah.
All right, now, then you're making my point, which is...
It's not a clear sign.
If a God wanted to communicate with you, here's a book that was written by we don't know how many authors, that people claim is directed from God, but from the first book to the last book, they can't get the records to agree. So, and you turn around and say that God supposedly does something to let you know He's there. You know, induction from nature, you know, that's like what they call ad hoc ergo post hoc. After this, because of this. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is you're inducing from nature. So what if the sun comes up? Oh, God did that. No, the sun came up. So it'll come up tomorrow.
I totally agree. I totally agree. My God isn't based on anything that's based on faith. I believe in God because it is physical. Everything I see is God. It's physical to me.
So
I don't believe in something that sits up in heaven and looks down on us, but everything that I get from consequences is physical.
So you're kind of, if I could paraphrase a little bit, kind of redefining the physical world as God. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's called animism. That's animism. That's the most basic of religions, where this has a place in your life, and this has a place in your life, and the trees have a spirit, and the whole world is interrelated.
But she didn't say anything had a spirit. You know, she's relating as physical things.
It is, yeah.
We're just calling them God. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a name I'm using for another belief, which also, though, it brings up another point that y'all made about all these people using one name, the Bible, as their there's many different versions of the Bible. Well, I believe that there's many different versions of God. Some things work for other people. So I have my beliefs that work for me, and you have yours that work for you.
If I'm paraphrasing wrong, please correct me.
Okay.
But what the impression I get is you're using God of the gaps. If you don't know why it happened or when it's going to happen or whatever.
Something to blame it on, you mean?
No, not blame it on, but just you stop looking. You say,
but I do know why it happens. I do know why it happens. The consequences come from. I know pretty much everything why things happen in my life. I mean, you know, if I've done something wrong to my boyfriend, he's going to break up with me. You know, and I don't look for anything else to blame it on or excuse it.
Well, but when you put it in terms like that, I don't see how it's useful. I mean, I don't see what it doesn't help you explain anything, right? I don't see that. You know, you haven't made any supernatural claims. So, what good is it? I mean, is it? Is it just like figure of speech?
You're asking what is the use in a belief in God?
Yeah. Well, your particular.
The use and the belief in God is that I live in it every day. God to me is earth as a whole, like I was saying.
But how does that increase your happiness? How does that improve your level of life?
It makes me feel better. It makes me feel better about the horrible things that are going on. It makes me feel better about myself.
That some God out there has decided that some kid's going to shoot 15 people in Colorado, and that somehow brings you peace?
It's part of life, yeah. Part of everything that's going on.
Okay, well, it's getting towards the end of the show. I have a bunch of other callers. I do appreciate your call,
Okay,
Summer.
thank you, guys.
Please call again.
Before we move on, let me just throw out here real quick
Sure.
that we're,
I appreciate
we're
it.
adding a couple of books to the ACA's library. This one, both of these came to us as a result of the convention that we had over Easter weekend. This one, Free Thought Across the Centuries by Gerald LaRue, is one that's contemplated as a textbook.
It's a good book.
In the, what did they call that
In
class?
the,
Different drummer?
Yes.
Where in places where they have classes in public schools about religion, this is one way to help teach. And it's got it's an interesting book. It's interesting more to me towards the end when you actually get to the freethinkers, because the beginning of it is mainly just explaining religion, different religions rising and falling. This one was given to us by one of the speakers that we had. His name was Fred Whitehead. He's from Kansas, and he has done lots of research. When he spoke to us at the convention, he spoke about free thought in Texas history, and also in a separate lecture, free thought in the Union Army. Very interesting guy, and this is a compilation of different essays from Robert Owen, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Robert G. Ingersoll, Mark Twain, Clarence Darrow, Sinclair Lewis, and a bunch of others. So these will be in our library, available for checking out by you atheist folks.
All our members there in the group. And I have a little personal announcement too. A friend of mine, Karen Gish, today's your birthday. Happy birthday, Karen. Just wanted to say hi. All right, let's go on down the line to Derek.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. You guys, do you guys believe in God?
No. No, this is the Atheist Experience, and we are the atheists.
Okay.
Along with the rest of the crew here.
And some friends of ours.
Okay, quickly, we're running out of time. We're towards the end of the...
My thing is, why don't you guys believe in God?
Let's go with the...
quick answer. God can't be verified.
I want to ask you why you do.
I mean, I question some of the things that go on in the world myself, but I'm confused about the way things are going on, how things are happening. I just wonder what made you guys just get into what you're in.
Well, I am into the atheist community of Austin because it's fun. Because it is cool to associate with a nice bunch of people that happen to be atheists. But there, as we discussed earlier, there's frequently not an event that we can point to where there's a little light bulb appears over our head and we change our mind. For me, I can point back to an instance where I started to think about it. I know right in space and time exactly when that happened, and a lot of people can tell you that. But once you start to question it, things start to fall together. I mean, what would the world be like if there was a God in it? I can answer that question. You know, I can speculate about it. You might think about what would a world be like if there wasn't a God for you, since you probably think there is. What would it look like? Would it look pretty much just like this world?
No, it'd be a perfect world.
It'd be a perfect world if there was no God in it?
If you kind of get me crossed up here, but I mean, I would think things should be better than what they are.
If there was no God.
If there was a God.
If there was a God.
Right. I think things should be better. I mean, you know.
So the evil and the suffering that's going on in this world has caused you to question the existence of God?
There you go. That's what I'm getting at, basically. Okay. I question things. Why is things so bad if there's a God to
that's
make
a good question. That is a legitimate question.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Do you guys, what books, do you guys have books that y'all give out? Or
well, we don't go. We haven't started going door to door. I mean, we're just playing with the idea of atheist missionaries. But you know, we can point you at some real good books. That
are you on the internet?
No.
Well, just go to the library and get on the internet down the library here in Austin, and go look up Internet Infidels. INTERNETINFIDELS. Plug in Internet Infidels. They have a historical section. They have books you can download and put on disk if you have access to a computer and print out. You don't have to add. No one has to give you literature. It's right there available to you in the public library.
And most, the book that a whole lot of us started off with that pointed folks to ours is the Bible, and it doesn't have a deal on the front. So, but I want to make a plug for another book that we came in contact with from our convention, and that is Douglas Kruger's "What Is Atheism?" It's very simple. It's in outline form, and it really breaks down some of the very basic questions about atheism. It's very, very good.
Okay.
So, Ed, you called at the end of the show. Please call again, though.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Derek. Have a good day.
Keep an open mind and keep questioning.
That's right.
All right, let's go on down to Jim. All right, quickly, Jim.
All right, I just wanted to call in, and these past two callers, I mean, I don't understand what they think is so bad about the world today, because I live in the same world that they live in, and I don't have any problems. I don't think anything's bad that's going on. I wanted to get your opinion on that. Is there stuff that bad going on in the world that hasn't been going on for decades and centuries?
Well, I've heard figures as high as 1 billion people are actually undernourished. So that's almost 20% of the world's population. It's not because we don't have enough food. We don't have proper distribution of the food that we do have. So that there's one thing. The violence that's going, the amount of wars and religious conflicts that are going on, where people are killing each other over their idea of who's going to heaven and who's not. It's a major problem going on right now.
But he makes a good point. I mean, my life is fine. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Someday I'm going to Vegas and clean up because I'm spoiled rotten, and I have a nice family and cable TV, and my life is great. But something like 20% of the people that lived in the 20th century died violent deaths. So there are, it depends on where you look. If you're looking for good things, they're out there. If you're looking for bad, there's certainly lots of poverty and misery.
Well, one of the problems is perception.
Oh, sure.
But what I'm saying is, you take a look at from like statistics nowadays are being quoted. We really didn't start keeping statistics until around 1930 or 40 in the United States, any great extent. And only in the last 10 years have we able to take those statistics and mass draw data out of them. In the 1830s, more people were killed by violent crime than are killed now. And the interesting thing about violent crime is that the high periods of violent crime in the United States were places like the gold rush, where masses of new people went to get a lot of quick wealth, or during the periods of the prohibition, like we have our drug prohibition now. That's the time of some violent crime. So when you get your statement is perfectly on point. Perception of today, we're actually safer today in many places than we were in the 1800s.
Right.
Quickly, I got one more call I want to get to.
Okay.
All right. You have a great week.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye.
Last caller.
All right. Last caller. Stephanie.
Yes, I have found that many people believe in God for safety. It has nothing to do with anything else, but they don't believe in themselves enough to live their own life for themselves.
That's a good point.
That's an interesting statement. It seems to me like it's just something that is like a cultural, that you're born in if you're born in Mexico, then the odds are you're going to be Catholic. I mean, that is just part of the assumptions that...
It's an scapegoat, because they don't want to be blamed for what they make happen in their own lives.
And then also there's the people, and they've called in several times on the show and said this, they're going to believe just enough so they can get to heaven. They think that if they say that there's a God and that they believe in God, then they're going to go to heaven. Mm-hmm. And you're right. But they might only go to church Christmas and Easter, and
Well, I mean, I used to be a Christian. I was raised Baptist, and I finally realized that the only purpose that I had in it was doing it so I wasn't responsible for what I did in my life.
Good point.
Don't you think it's kind of a difficult paradigm to escape